Hey guys, I just got done last night reading The Complete Software Developer's Career Guide by John Sonmez, and I highly recommend you read it. There'll be a link in the description where you could get it and help me out, and presumably John in the process. But I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to review the book in this video, as well as talk about why I think this is a must read for anyone interested in software development or that works in the industry currently. Hey guys, just want to do a quick shout out to my JavaScript 360 Part 1 course. It's got almost a 5-star on it, and it's 7 hours of content. I also go over a little bit of Git and Markdown. Basically introduces you to everything JavaScript when it comes to the logic and the overview of it. And so it's 7.5 hours of content. I've been adding a couple videos to it here or there. But if you're interested in it, there is a link in the description below where you can get it for real cheap. So before you kind of review a book, you have to really talk about who that book is for, right? Especially a book like this where it's a soft skills technical book is how I would define it. And so you have something like The Complete. You see this Complete? This book is written in such a way that, and mind you, it's 800 pages with 5 main sections. So you're talking about 150 to about 180 pages, math is hard, of content for each section. So depending on where you are in your career, it may have some relevant content for you. And having read through this, I would definitely agree that that's the case. So the 5 sections are getting started as a software developer, getting a job as a software developer is number 2, what you need to know about software development is number 3, working as a software developer and advancing your career. And I will say, as somebody who already works as a software developer, I'm coming up on about 2 years of experience. I have found this book, I wish I found this much sooner in my career and actually spent the $20 or so to go and read it and learn a few things. So who is this book not for? The person on the Amazon review who complained that it was 800 pages, this book is not for you. The reason for it is a lot of what's in here is knowledge, insight, but the suggestions on how to get a job, how to get started, those first 2 sections, although the advice is amazing and immaculately descriptive on how to succeed, it is hard work. And so if you're complaining about having to read an 800-page book in your career path where you say you want to be a software developer, but 800 pages is too much for you to read, I understand not wanting a book, but having the more the better, right? It's like saying that you like a YouTube channel but you don't like that they have 900 videos, right? Do you like the content? Then why don't you like the videos? It's not to say that you can't be complaining, but if the hardest thing for you to do in your career will not be reading this book. This book is written in such a way that it is a very, very easy read. I found myself reading 100 pages at a time sometimes, where I was just sitting there fully enjoying it. It is written in a way where you can almost hear John talking. It is a very personal book, as personal as I think a book like this can get, where stories are shared, moments. He's giving excellent examples from his professional career as to why he believes these things. It's written as a infotainment book, really, and it is very entertaining for you interested in software. Like, would my mother, who is a nurse and barely uses a computer, find it entertaining? No. But should you, as a software developer or aspiring software developer, find it very entertaining? Absolutely. And the examples that he gives on a more specific topic of how to get a job are some of the best examples I have ever heard, and unique. Are they hard work? Absolutely. Will it take time, energy, and effort? Yes. But will they succeed? I have no doubt. And he reminded me of the conversation I had with John where I interviewed him like 2 years ago on the channel, right when I was getting started, right? And I was asking about how to get a job, and his advice was, to summarize, go in the back door. So many people are going in the front door, you go in the back door. And we talked a little about what that means. In here, he goes into a lot of detail about not only what that means, but what are the ways to the back door, right? And I found it very, very enlightening, even already having a job, because I could see myself, say I wanted to jump into blockchain, right? I've talked about that a couple times, how I might use those same techniques to make that jump. Now, the third section, which is what you need to know about being a software developer, or about software development, is a wonderful example of trying to answer gray questions in black and white while still acknowledging that they are gray questions. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of subjects that are universal when it comes to software development and getting started, and talking about pull requests, talking about version control, talking about programming language, the front end, the back end, the version control, UI UX, talking about all the various categories and subcategories to let you know what exists, what's working, and what John's recommendations are for there. And he does a lot of the same things that I do in videos where I'm like, look, I'm going to try to answer this question that has no real answer. How many hours a day should you code? What's the number, right? People always want black and white answers. In life, there are very few black and white answers to very gray questions, so, right? How many hours a day should you code could be a different, what define coding, right? So John takes on this task in this third section of defining what is the right programming language for you, how are you going to accomplish that, and what is going to be the path laid in front of you, as well as just introduce you to a ton of stuff. One of the hardest things about getting started as a developer is not knowing what to know, right? Not knowing about code reviews, right? I didn't know code reviews were like a real big thing until I was a developer. And a lot of not knowing the communication and interpersonal skills and how that's going to help affect you in the workplace and things like that. So this third section is about all those things that you may or may not know, and some of it will be a refresher, some of it will be new, but it's what its real goal here is to introduce you to a ton of topics that maybe some you've learned, maybe some you haven't, and while trying to give the best black and white answers about some of these as you can. But unfortunately, John, even in the book, will say, look, this is just my opinion. Technology is changing all the time, but as a core, the book at its core is designed to be written in such a way that we're not going to say, look, you got to learn JavaScript. What we're going to say is that you need to keep your ear to the ground. These are the core object-oriented languages, and you'll be able to transition between it and sort of make this book a timeless book where 20 years from now it's still going to be relevant because of the way that it's written. And I think he did a very good job in this section to answer those great questions in as black and white as he could. So the final two sections of the book are really what spoke to me the most, right? The working as a software developer and advancing your career. Because that's where I'm at. I'm a developer. I'm working as a developer. So they tell me. They send, as long as I keep cutting the checks, then call me whatever they want. But yeah, so I'm working as a developer, and I'm trying to advance my career, right? I think these are things that I am motivated by, right? I want to make sure I'm a better developer every year, and I want to make sure that I'm compensated fairly and that I can have a nice life, right? And so these were the sections that really spoke to me, and I found it very enlightening. So working as a software developer covered a lot. It covered not only what you'd actually be doing, but how to play the game, right? It's kind of sad. It's sad where I find it sad, but I understand the reality of the world where what to do when one of your coworkers isn't pulling their weight, what to do when you have a boss who is abusive or that you don't mesh well with, and how that can be handled. And so there's a lot of that, as well as the more like, okay, well, how should you answer pull requests, how should you do code reviews, how should you pair program, and all these sort of topic oriented things, and guides on how to 2-page guides on how to handle this specific subject matter. So I found that very enlightening. So one of the things I recently used, and mind you, one thing when it comes to reading books like these is not just to read it and forget it. Really, what I try and do whenever I finish like a book this size, which is very rarely, like I might do a book a year, but this year I have 5 to 10 books lined up, and I finished this book in a month, exactly a month. Yesterday. So that was my goal, finish it in a month, and I have another book lined up, and I'll do a book review for that later on. But my goal when I read something like this is to take 5 things away and implement them in my career. Sometimes it's only one. You can't help that, right? As you read more and more soft skill books. But for this very first book is 5 things. So one of the things that I taken away from it is how to handle unprofessional people, and there's a section about that, and I found it very helpful as it's something that I've had to deal with in recent times with certain individuals, and in the past I had to deal with it and I didn't really handle it in the better way. So in the past at other workplaces. So I found that very helpful. I also found he even goes in detail about when it comes to advancing your career, the proper way to dress, dress for success, right? It's kind of a silly saying, but it is very helpful. Personal branding, how important that is, how to get started, and how not only to just be a developer, but how to become a developer with authority, right? That authority is really where it's at. He makes a very good analogy to it, because a lot of times personal branding can be considered marketing, and it seems a little bit right? A little bit, some people, especially older developers, may not like that. But he really makes the argument of how when you're advancing your career, that your personal brand is not really so much, it's a multiplier, right? It's a multiplier of your success, and very helpful in that aspect. So I found this book completely eye-opening at times. I found just reviewing the sections, even though I was in that part of my career, has already had a job, I found I learned something in every one of these sections of this book. I would recommend that if you are getting started, you definitely read it if you're in your career, and if you've already, you're already a senior dev. I think this is a book that you should just read through at least one time in your career, and try to take it with an open mind, right? Where let me see if some of this stuff works, and stick to it, right? Really what you need to do whenever you read a self-help or a soft skills book is you need to apply it. Don't read it and forget it, right? That's just words, right? Actions are what will help you in your career and in your life. And so I'm taking a few of the things in here, and I'm acting on them, and I have no doubt that they will help me in my career. So that's my book review of the Complete Software Developer's Career Guide by John Sonmez, aka Simple Programmer, but not it anymore. I don't know what's going on with that, but best of luck to you, John. And if you're interested in the book, there'll be a link in the description. You can help me out with some affiliate money and help John out in the process too. Thank you so much for watching the video. The next book I will be reading is Clean Code, or Cracking the Coding Interview. I have both books. I've bought them already, and so I'll let you. I'll update it and go from there. That'll probably be the next one that I do. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, support me on Patreon, all that good stuff. I'll see you next time. Bye. Baby, I just read this 800-page book. What should we talk about first? You
didn't read that book. There's no way.
I've read this book, all right? Get out of here. Quick thank to our sponsor, DevicePlus.com. If you guys are interested in Arduino and the Internet of Things, such as Raspberry Pis, might I recommend checking them out at DevicePlus.com. If you click the link in the top corner, it'll take you to a really cool thing. It's an intro beginner level tutorial of how to build a tripwire using Arduino. Check it out.